Oh yeah, there's well over a foot on there, and it's heavy, packy stuff. And now it's snowing again. Ta-da! Well, she's pretty cold out this morning. It's about negative 13 degrees Celsius. Don't ask me what that is in Fahrenheit because I don't have a friggin' clue. But it's cold, I tell you what. Oh my goodness. I'm wearing the parka. I never wear this thing, but you're never cold when you wear this thing. So today's one of those days when I need it. Listen to that. Listen to that. This car does not like the cold. Neither do I, but I live in Canada, so it's not whether you like it or not. It's just you do what you gotta do, so you gotta do it. Hey, it's alive. Sometimes the power steering, when it's really cold, sometimes the power steering will go wah, wah. Oh, power steering's making noises. Poor car. There she goes. Well, the sun's shining today. It's warmed up a little bit. And I gotta pull a motor out of an old square body Chevy truck in the 80s. This is a carbureted 4-barrel 350. So maybe I'll document the process. I'm gonna have to undo everything holding the motor in and everything attached. I'm gonna start with the rad and the rad hoses and the wires. And I'll have to undo the throttle cable. This is a manual transmission. And so I'll have to disconnect the transmission. There's some power steering lines. There's 2 lines to the power steering pump. There's a fuel line on this side, and some wires, and the starter has to come off. Well, got the radiator out and hoses undone, captured the coolant into a drain pan. Throttle cable is undone. The distributor cap is loose just in case it needs room at the firewall, so it's just loose there now. The power steering pump has been removed and it's just hanging here. That way we don't have to get into the lines that way. The lines are still hooked up and it's still full of fluid. This one has a hydrostatic steering and brakes. So the exhaust has to be undone. I've already dropped the starter, and we'll probably undo the exhaust at the bottom of the manifolds there. They look kind of rusty, so that might be fun. The engine mount on the driver's side there's a nut right there and the bolts on the other side, so that'll be pretty easy to get at. On the passenger side, I removed the fuel pump, and sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need to remove the fuel pump to get at that nut. But this one has a keeper on the motor mount, so all I have to do is take the bolt out. I was gonna undo the hydraulic clutch line, but I decided just to take off the slave cylinder and just let it hang. That way there's no fluid coming out. Yeah. About to zap off this motor mount here. Already got the other one. They always have nuts and bolts on these old small blocks, and the nut is on the front side here. And this one has a 4-speed transmission, so we're just going to take the 4 bolts out between the transmission. So the bell housing is actually separate from the transmission, and this had a 4-speed in it, so there's 4 bolts in that go between the bell housing and the transmission, and I just took those 4 bolts out, and the clutch, bell housing, flywheel, pressure plate, everything comes out with the motor. Ta-da! There's light right there. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's well over a foot on there, and it's heavy, packy stuff. And now it's snowing again. So I'm pretty sure that snow there is sliding off. And on the other side, over there, it already slid off, and it seems like there's quite a bit of weight because it's really heavy and packy. And we got like a foot of snow over the last 2 days, and we had a foot of snow just before that. So I'm gonna just encourage it to come down. That way I can, if there's any vehicles parked nearby, it's not going to land on any vehicles. I can do it now. There was a truck parked on the corner here, so I just moved the truck, and I'm going to knock it down now so it doesn't land on the truck.